A story by Li Young Lee. Sad is the man who has asked for a story and can't come up with one. His 5-year-old son waits in his lap. Not the same story, Baba, a new one. The man rubs his chin, scratches his ear. In a room full of books in the world of stories, he can recall not one, and soon he thinks the boy will give up on his father. Already the man lives far ahead. He sees the day the boy will go. Don't go! Hear the alligator story, the angel story once more. You'll love the spider story. You laugh at the spider. Let me tell it. But the boy is packing his shirts. He's looking for his keys. Are you a god? The man screams. That I set mute before you? Am I a god that should never disappoint? But the boy is here. Please, Baba, a story? But it's an emotional rather than a logical equation, an earthly rather than a heavenly one, which posits that a boy's supplications and the father's love add up to silence.
And we will be using CRD to analyze it. Now, the first question CRD asks is, what does the poem say? And we have a narrator speaking to the audience, and the situation that we have in the poem is that there's a son who wants to hear a new story from his father, one that hasn't been told yet, and the father can't come up with one, and he imagines that if he doesn't come up with a story, then he will run out of time and his son will leave one day not having the fulfillment of this story. And so the next question that CRD has is, how does the poem say? And what we see here is that there's a mental picture going on, that we have a child sitting in his father's lap, and they're in some sort of library, room full of books, and this kind of represents how fragile that raising a child is, and how fleeting nature plays a role, and that the father has basically a responsibility to read his son this story. So the author uses some good figurative language and poetic devices to convey this story using foreshadowing. So of course he sees already the man lives far ahead. He sees the day this boy will go, which basically means that one day his son is gonna leave, most likely like college or go get a job or something. He references metaphors to God right here. My God, I should never disappoint. He uses a metaphor of emotion to logic, so here, and a metaphor of earth versus heaven, an earthly rather than a heavenly one. And what we see is that the message is not very hidden. It is quite clear to see what Li Young Lee is aiming for here. And what Li Young Lee uses to write this poem is obviously stanzas, right here. And the last question CRD asks is, what does the poem say to me? Now, this is very personal, and so what I felt from this poem, reading it, is that I can't really relate. I grew up and my father has been good with spending time with me and I guess coming up with stories in a way. I actually felt like something like a song popped into my head when I was reading this. Harry Chapin, Cats in the Cradle, which basically is about a son, and he wants to spend time with his father, but his father won't take time out of his day to spend it with his son. And so eventually the son grows up, goes off to college, gets a job, has a family, and now the father wants to spend time with his son, but the father didn't realize that the son grew up to be just like him. And so that basically covers CRD of A Story by Li Young Lee.